always feel it's funny. I've been listening through my old episodes, and I always start with like, hi, and it just feels so weird because I'm like, we've been talking for the last half hour, so we'll just jump into it. But thanks so much for being here, Alyssa.
Oh my gosh, of course. I'm to be here.
I'm so excited to have you here in the studio and, be one of my... I was telling Alyssa how like the podcast has been on a bit of a hiatus, but I am so excited with all the guests we have planned, and you're definitely were at the top of the list. And especially because you've just had, I feel like, such a big year in the last couple of years with everything you've had going on. So let's just start by, could you just tell me a little bit about yourself, who you are? Just introduce yourself to like everyone listening.
Yeah, so my name is Alyssa Standen. I am during the day, I'm a full-time associate producer at this place, TRG. And by night and, all the other hours of the day, I am a writer and director, and I make really dramatic, angry films about, being a woman and how tough womanhood can be. And I can't wait to make more. And it's kind of an addiction. And
I love that.
I collect VHSs. I have a cat named Luna. And my boyfriend Dane's really nice. Been dating him for 7 years. Shout out, Dane. Love you a lot.
Shout out, Dane.
You're
a
real one. And I love movies. Movies is my love language. And I love like art in like all forms, like fashion, art, film, music especially. Oh my gosh. But film is like my thing.
And I feel like they all play a part together with like storytelling.
Absolutely.
I think you really are a storyteller in many ways.
Oh, thank you. I
like
appreciate that.
with everything you do. So I was just thinking through like what I wanted to talk to you about, and there's so much, but the last time I saw you, we were working on our vision boards together with some other girls for the new year. And since it's February now, and I don't know about you, but January was just weird, and
it was a very difficult January.
Yeah, it was very difficult. It was long, many reasons. I think, and so, but I think often that happens where January is just kind of like, I think we put all these expectations on ourselves, and then
pressure to begin with,
And I'm like, what if I recently was just telling myself, I'm like, what if January was just for like resting, a little bit of reflection, and then February is when we really start doing it. So obviously in January we did our vision board. So I feel like you are like super intentional about yours. Like every time, I love whenever I go to like a vision board night with people and just watching how people like pick their things. Like I'm just so snoopy about it. Mm-hmm. So tell me what's on your vision board for this year, or just walk me through it.
So the biggest thing, and it was like a title of a random Vogue article that I had found, and it was just called Finished Business. And I feel like that was like the phrase of my year. It was like, I have this short film called Trashy that I had like written probably in like 2016 and rewrote for years, shot it in 2022, edited for like a year, and then festival season was like a year and a half. So wrapping that film up this year is my number one goal. And there's also like a handful of feature length and short scripts that have like been on my docket for so long. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like determined to get those like printed, bratted up and ready to go, and just see if anyone wants to buy those. It would be great. So that's the biggest phrase that was on there. And then I tried to kind of focus on the overall like energy that I was giving myself, and doing a lot of like self-reflection, how I talk to myself, because I'm usually like a very militant, like hard on myself, like you have to do this and you have to be number one and you have to be perfect or else, it's a flop. And this is the first year where I'm actually like taking a look back at what happened in 2024 and like random like health issues that I was having, and being like, you know what, human beings are fragile, and we have a lot of things that we go through in life, and I need to be way more considerate and delicate with myself. And I think I just tried to put that like all over the board, just like like health, but in a positive way and not like a toxic way. And how you treat your body, how you treat your mind, how you treat things that like have happened that bug you and you can't move on with it. But like, why can't you move on? Like, there's just a whole slew of things that include like my personal life, film projects, and just like my career in general, where I'm way too hard on myself and I need to lighten the frick up. So that was on my board this year.
That's amazing. Yeah, and I was gonna say you do seem like so disciplined with your craft,
I try to be.
and you got to be for sure. And I think, but it's so good to also like have that realization of like, I gotta loosen it up a little bit,
Yeah,
because otherwise you're gonna
seriously.
burn out. You're gonna, and especially your mention about taking care of your body, because it's like
Yes.
how you treat your body is kind of how you treat your soul in a way. Not to get super deep, but
100%.
I've been reflecting on that a lot lately, too, where I'm like, I don't know, I get so focused on like what's in my mind. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna focus on like creating as much as I can and ideating and doing all this and blah blah blah. And then meanwhile, I'm like barely stretching my body or barely moving or barely doing anything. And I'm like, something's gonna give, and it's gonna affect your mind eventually. So that's amazing. That's good. I'm glad you're finding reaching towards that balance, because it's important.
And listen, I'm learning the phrase in many ways myself this year. The body keeps the score. You can definitely like put yourself through like hours and hours of sleepless nights working on projects, and like in a really bad way, you can have almost like a martyr complex of how hard you work, and like it's all going towards something, and like the purpose is so worth it that you want to like burn yourself out. But it's like that, no, like when you're getting yourself like sick and you're getting the flu because you've been working for months straight, like that's coming from somewhere. Your body's telling you to take a break.
Yeah, it's not sustainable. One phrase I wrote it in an essay somewhere, and then I keep repeating it, which is just that if you don't set a boundary, your body will.
Oh,
like
that's so true.
Like if you don't set these limits, eventually your body will. Like it's not we're not machines. Like we're gonna run out of steam eventually, and then you're gonna learn the hard way, whether it's through, I don't know, having a headache or something, flu, where the body's like, I warned you.
It's like, no, you don't want to go to bed. I'll make you go to bed.
Exactly. Well, that made me think of I feel like there's all these, for a lot of times people view creating art as almost like you need to kind of go through this like harsh, almost like suffering. It's interesting how you said the martyr complex kind of around it. Where do you think that sometimes like comes from? Like just kind of this like, and how do you think we can like try to make a balance with that? Well, I guess you're kind of trying to find that.
Oh, I'm definitely like, I'm on the journey. It's not like I'm there yet, but I saw an interview recently with David Lynch, who huge inspiration for me. Rest in peace, David. We love you. He was super into meditation and the power of the mind, and something really thoughtful that he said was about people suffering and art. And he's like, you don't have to be suffering to make art, but the suffering can teach you something and you can pull something. But if you're writing because you're meant to, you're writing because you really enjoy it and you love the process, and that's bringing you joy. So like, yeah, absolutely. Like you can write projects that are about really dark subject matter, and you can film really dark things. But at the end of the day, like when I'm writing and doing those things, I'm not suffering at all. I'm head over heels in love and addicted to it. That's why I do it. But I think the suffering itself, that like random things that I've gone through in my life, they're very informative. And I've definitely made stances and opinions and scathing reviews on things because of experiences in my life that had to do with suffering. But the like process of like writing a project, producing a project, funding a project, and then actually getting on the set, that's just like magic. And that is pure love and light and happiness, no matter what the film's about, because you brought all these people together and you're making something that's like so important to you. So like, I think it's, you shouldn't seek out suffering to make art, because while I was very informed by it, and I think a lot of it built the foundation of what I had made, even if I didn't go through that stuff, like I still like, and thank you for saying it, like I do feel like I'm a storyteller at heart, and I am, like, whether it's in a different tone or whatever, like I still have things to say, and I'm going to do it through this medium. So I think it's not required to go through all this suffering to make art. I think that like there's ebbs and flows of life, pardon me.
No, you're fine.
But Yeah, it's
That's so
definitely not
beautiful.
required. And I don't think people should ever seek out suffering for the plot.
That right there, write that down. Whoever's listening. Absolutely. And I love that because, you are in such a, you're in the film industry. So like, and you're in this industry that it is so cutthroat. And, I think it's amazing to have that point of view. And I mean, obviously, as you quoted, like literally one of the best filmmakers of all time, like talked about it that way too. And it's like, I think I've had to grapple with that as well, as a writer too, where I'm like, well, I need to be up all night working on this draft. I need to be pouring my soul out, and it's like, but I'm not, because at the end of the day, like that form of writing is like it is love to me. It is a form of joy, even when I'm writing about those hard things.
Yeah.
And finding that balance and that, I don't know, that's just so beautiful. That you phrased it beautifully. So don't don't seek out suffering for the plot. I love that. I love that, because I wonder if that's sometimes like some like young people kind of get in their head like, oh, I need to go through this shit like to really have a real perspective on things. But I think anyone can have an interesting point of view of things.
Oh, absolutely. And I wish most of all that like junior high school, college Alyssa would have heard that phrase and taken it to heart, because I really dragged myself through the coals back then, just trying to figure out who I was and what I was trying to say about life. And I think a lot of like the most that I learned about like the suffering aspect of things was last year. I was editing and I was working on a script at the same time. I was pulling all-nighters and then going to work the next day as if nothing was wrong. But I was running on fumes, and everyone around me saw it, and I was so tired. And it's like, I just think you're not going to make your best material when you're running on 2%. Even if you think like it's 4 a.m. and creativity struck, it's like if you're exhausted, it's going to show.
Yes.
And you're going to read it the next day and be like, what?
Yes.
What is this?
Yes, that's so true. And it's like very romanticized. I mean, ironically, in films, in books, of this like writer, like, or, drinking a scotch in the middle of the night, chain smoking and whatever. And like, that's all romantic and beautiful. And I'm sure we all pinned it on our Tumblr pages at one point.
Yeah,
like,
of
course.
Of course.
But at the end of the day, as you get older, you start to realize the reality of it. And I always do think about the word sustainability. It's like, how are you going to sustain yourself? How are you going to not like reach that capacity? And especially when you're writing and creating art about such tough topics and sometimes dark topics, you're not going to be good for any of that, and you're not going to be able to like express that properly if you're not taking care of your soul in like the bare minimum of ways, like getting a full night's sleep.
Like if you don't even honor your own body for its most basic needs, like showering, sleeping, eating 3 meals a day, what is your perspective going to sound like when you're writing about the perspective of a woman in a script? My God, like how is she going to see the world? How are you treating her? Like that, it really could change based on how you're treating yourself. It's like night and day difference.
That's incredible. It's crazy. I never even thought about that. And I'm kind of in the process of working on some fiction material and like figuring out like characters and stuff like that. And I'm like, I already know I'm gonna like be so attached to these people. But it's like, your experience can like bleed into the work. And it's like, it's like you're not honoring the work. You're not honoring the character if you're not honoring yourself. You're the thing that's like bringing it to life.
Oh yeah, and it'll show. And you'll read it like a month later and be like, wow.
You could see it.
Put a red line on that.
Yeah. And other people could see it too, can in some cases see it too. If, it's like, oh, this person, So I think, but I like how you said that there's, I like how you said that your suffering can inform the work. Because of course that is part of the inspiration. It's part of the that ebb and flow of like, okay, how do I like pull out this thing that has this texture to it, but then how do I also, reach that level of like sustainability and treating myself well. And that's still something I'm trying to figure out. Like I actually just wrote an essay for my newsletter about like, how do I stay consistent when at my core, my creative process isn't that consistent. I wonder if you experienced that at all.
Oh God, yeah, for sure. I feel like my problem lately has been creativity has been constant and very inconvenient for me because I feel like I get inspiration like, and I feel like anyone that's known me forever can attest to it. Like I'm literally about to like pull the car over because I have to write down this idea or this one scene and I have to do it. And like the creativity is constant, but my actual application of it and writing the thing and turning it into an actual script is so hard.
Yeah.
Like the best example is the feature version of Trashy, because Trashy came about in 2016 and I rewrote it 1,000 times, learned a whole bunch of new lessons in my life, and I'm glad that it ended up being written when it was and finished. But the feature version that has been on my mind also since 2016, I'm still writing it this year because I think the perspective I had and almost the review I had on the late 2000s and how I grew up and the environment I grew up in has changed so much because the like 14-year-old girl that I'm writing about, I have a totally different perspective. She was not this evil, like terrible girl that just did terrible things and was like terrible at heart. No. This girl needed help and no one was helping her. And this was her only way to cry out. And it was very clear to me that just I had a very hateful view of like myself at that age, and I was really showing it on that. And then as the script changed and as I watched the film a million times over and I'm reapproaching the feature film, I'm like, no, these girls went through way too much and they had a lot to say and nowhere to put it, and that's where it went, and that's the result of it. So
that's incredible, and that's so true, and I think any artist can relate to that, how like especially when you're taking a lot of time to work on something, like years, you know, your perspective change. You as a person are growing, and your the rear view, the image in the rear view mirror starts to change, and you're like, and how, I guess, but you still finish the film as it is, and you gotta just keep going and just then continue. So your plan is kind of to continue their story or expand on it?
The Trashy is like just skimming the top of the barrel with those two. The actual story between like why there's a big family divide and what caused it is so directly involved in their reunion and what they get involved in and how things end. And it's so much more severe in the feature version in my mind, but it is a scathing review of womanhood at that time.
And so give me a bit of just a premise of the film, as much, obviously we don't want anything spoiled, but you know, just give me a premise and just like, I guess a bit more where this idea came from. You already kind of mentioned a bit, but.
So it's a story about this 14-year-old girl, Naomi, and she is sent to stay with her grandma for the summer for unknown reasons in the short. And she reunites with her cousin, Courtney, who she's about the same age. And Naomi is like a Catholic school girl, very sheltered. She's pretty lonely because she's pretty much like not kept to her own devices, but she's like kept in this house all the time. And her cousin Courtney is on other side of the tracks, estranged family members, and we're assuming it's because they're just, you know, rough around the edges, we'll say, trashy, essentially. And when they reunite, it's all warm and fuzzy, and they miss each other, and they want to get back together, and then Grandma shuts it down immediately, and it's very clear that something's real wrong with that. And Naomi decides to disobey and sneak out and go hang out with her cousin anyway, and they get into some rough and tumble shenanigans after that leads to some pretty crazy stuff. But I won't spoil it.
Of course, no. And so it's set in the early 2000s, correct?
Like I was envisioning like 2009, 2010-ish. I think I originally wanted it to be 2009, but then Nikki, the costume designer for Trashy, Nikki Bogdanovic, she's amazing. She found this hoodie, and it was Myrtle Beach Spring Break 2010. So I was like, okay, the movie's set in 2010. I'll do that.
Isn't that amazing how sometimes that a certain artifact like that can influence it?
Oh yeah, and it was so important. Like it was like a black hoodie with like the rainbow zebra print and everything, and I was like, that was the moment. Back then. That was everything. So
what made you why that time period specifically, 2009, 2010?
So when I was like writing it, I was actually staying at my grandparents for the summer, and I was working at this whirlpool factory that was like across their street. And like one of the earliest memories that I had as a kid was being at their house, because I lived there the first 2 years of my life. And I would look out into the backyard and I would see the train go by, and I would see all the factory workers outside smoking their cigarettes. And it was just like, the vibe was immaculate. And I just looked back on like my life when I was in junior high school, and the few experiences that I had with like my cousins and like the Clyde boys and all the people from that town. And I was like, how scary would it have been had I been like a junior high schooler with access to this town and all these people and all this freedom, because there was just like freedoms that I had at that house that I never had at my parents because it was fucking strict. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
Okay,
no,
cool.
you can swear.
It's like, oh no, I did it. But yeah, no, it was a way more lax environment there.
Yeah.
And like, there's just my soul is free in that town. I have no idea how to express it, but I am soul bonded to that town somehow. And I picked that time era because if I would have like put myself in that town at that time, I can only imagine what kind of crap I would have gotten into, more than I did when I was in the other town where I had a lot more rules. So it was a frightening thought. So it gave me a lot of inspiration to write things down.
So it started with the environment, really, like kind of
100%.
setting with like, and then putting this hypothetical of yourself, like, like how would I have like reacted there? That's so cool.
Oh yeah.
That's so cool.
I was just kind of making educated guesses.
Yeah. Is this it is kind of like it's kind of like science in that way. I don't know, like kind of like playing around with formulas of like,
oh yeah,
how does a person react in this setting? How does a person react around this person? What if you change the year, the age, the gender of the person? That's
like,
so
is that
interesting.
family over here, do they have like a religious background? Are they strict? What's their deal? Like, how is she, like, what's her world like versus this brand new world that you just opened up to her? And how much advantage is she going to take of that while she's here for a limited time? You know?
Yes. Yeah, that's always very, I think, can be a very interesting element in storytelling when it's like you're there for like a temporary amount of time. I mean, that's why, I mean, this is very different, but it's like, I don't know, a lot of the best like love stories and rom-coms are where it's like it's two people meeting on a summer vacation, like on an island.
Summer vacation romance.
Yes.
That is like everything.
Because there's like this time limit of like closing in, and it kind of creates this suspense, but also kind of this, I don't know, like there's like a ending and a beginning and an end point.
Oh yeah.
But that's so interesting. And was it rural Ohio, I assume? Okay.
Oh yeah. Hardcore like farm and factory town. And I love every inch of that
yes
place. I feel like, and it's definitely not true, like I can't keep thinking it this way, but like I felt like I could walk around any dark corner of that town and be safe at night, which again, not true.
Why do you think you felt that way?
I just felt completely invincible or something. Like, I don't know what it was. Like, I felt like if I were to run into somebody like in a dark corner of the park when I was walking around at town at night, I feel like I can just talk to them and they're just going to talk to me like a person, and it's not a big deal, and they're not a scary monster. Not true.
Yeah.
Not true. Things have happened. Story, me and Dane were walking around the Clyde Community Park, which is one of my favorite places, and it was like midnight, and I think we were being little degenerates, and we grabbed like a tall boy, and we were just like on the swings, and just it's what I like to do. I do things sometimes. But this guy like approached us from across the way, and he was talking to us, and he had like a backpack that he was like unzipping, and then Dane saw that there was like a guy way back in the shadows that was like walking like towards the back of us, and then he made us get out of there, and then like my papa picked us up in his van and was yelling at us like, why are you walking around the city at night? And then we looked the guy up that was approaching us, and he was the worst kind of criminal that you could find on the books. So definitely don't do that. But, there was a vibe, and I followed it, and it got me in trouble, which I guess in many ways is moral of the story of Trashy anyway.
Yeah. So do you think, and so I'm guessing that's kind of like this I guess I would call it like a naive bravery of like a teenager.
Exactly.
That's kind of what you injected into this like main character,
very
or
much
both of them
so.
even.
And almost like it's very naive but you're so desperate for that excitement in your life that naive is like multiply it by 10 because you have no time to do it and you know that this might be your only chance. So you just as much of it as you can get, and that was like my teenage life in a nutshell. So it was like I got to show that on film, and I felt like it was effective. She was like, let's get this going.
Oh my gosh. And I've said this already a million times. I'm really excited to see it. Even from the clips you've shared and just the just what Nikki has shared with me too, from the costuming to the behind the scenes you've shared, like I can just tell there's just a certain texture to that film that I think I don't know. I think it's gonna capture something really interesting, and I haven't even seen it yet. I just have a really like exciting feeling about it. And tell me a bit more about like the process of like actually going out, like after the it's written, and like putting it to life. Did you guys go to your actual town?
Oh yeah, we filmed most of it there. I couldn't help myself. I had to do it.
Oh yeah.
We had to go. It was really far too, and it was all night shoots, and it was like all of it. There was so many aspects of it that were like a challenge, but to like put into words what it felt like when I had like all my friends from the film industry come together at like 2 a.m. and we're in my favorite place on earth, and I have like this cast of like amazing like guys and girls that are just nailing all their parts, and then we're going through and just running around town for like this montage in the middle where they're just doing their thing and running around town. And we're right at the place that I looked at when I was a kid, that spot where the trains go by and the factory, and there were factory workers smoking outside on their break, and we're filming them walking down this little trail that's like covered in these chain link fences, and I hear a train whistle, and a train comes through right when we're filming, and it was like, I'm not even trying to be dramatic, it was like a religious experience to have all of these wonderful people right in that spot that I've seen since I was like born. It was incredible.
How did that feel? Did you feel like in a way you were kind of living through this like version of yourself that you thought you could be?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
That's like the magic of storytelling, especially when you pull it from your personal experiences. Like when you're putting it, I'm sure even writing it felt to an extent like you're like
for sure
placing yourself in that version, but then being in the place, and then just you're directing an actress to say these certain things, do these certain things,
and like the train's going by, and like I turn them around and I'm like, flip off the train, and I just see all this going up at the train, and everyone's in the frame, and then it goes by and you see the factory workers, and then the camera kind of shakes and goes up, and it was like the perfect transition out, and I was like, how did we do it? How did we do it? That was like fate that brought that to me. That was luck. It was incredible.
And a lot of it is, I feel like, luck and spontaneity when it comes to filmmaking. I've learned that just from my husband Evan, who's producer of this podcast. Shout out. And he's worked on many films and created a lot of shorts, and videos and whatever. A lot of it is you got to like roll with the punches, and you have to have a certain. Would you call it like just like just being okay with chaos?
Yeah. Oh, seriously. There were so many things like there's one particular scene which I won't describe because it's like a major spoiler, but one of the places that I wanted to shoot that scene very specifically was this Whirlpool parking lot, which was right next to the place I was just telling you about with the little trail and the fence and everything. And we were told very unkindly, you may not film here, do not film here. And I was like, okay, well, that kind of ruins the whole thing because there was one street light in the back corner and it was all empty parking lot, and that was about to be a vibe, but we'll shift. Okay, I guess. And then we had to do it in Kipton, which is like a small town that's like right next to Oberlin.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of like pivots like that where it's just like this wasn't the exact location that I wanted, but like I got so many things on my wish list that I was pretty much just like fine with it. I was like, I'm not going to get everything I want. Like the makeup on this actress like isn't really working, so we're just going to pivot and do this instead. Like you have to be okay with a lot of abrupt changes.
Yeah,
but
you can't be too precious with like your expectations, I feel like.
Not at all.
Because then you're going to just you can't stop the whole production just like.
Yeah, no. You pretty much just have to imagine that the whole thing could go up in flames and be thankful for every moment something goes right, because you literally never know. There's too many moving parts and too many departments where like something could just not go right and change the whole day. You got to be cool with it. You got to prepare, and that's what the beauty is in prep.
100. Oh yeah.
As much prep as you can possibly
Yeah, pre-production. From what I've heard, that's like as important as anything.
Oh yeah.
So you can, predict what you can, but then be ready to roll with the punches.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's literally just that saying, like, control what you can, or expect the worst, or prepare for the best, or I don't know what that phrase
Prepare
is.
for the worst, hope for the best.
Yes,
right.
that's what it is. And yeah, so I mean, yeah, that kind of, I definitely wanted to ask you about kind of those like challenges, because it's like, but you did it, and so you submitted it to some festivals. Can you just brag about it a little bit? What is it? One, how has this process been with like releasing it to the world? And I don't know much about this process, so just like, I'm just curious.
So I think this is like the worst part, because like I don't even know how many festivals I submitted to, probably close to like 50 or 60, and it was not cheap. And something that like in retrospect I wish I would have done for my own sanity is like make the list and give it to someone else. They're the one that like uses my card and hits submit, and then don't tell me anything unless we got selected, because I would just look at those notification dates and just refresh and be like, oh,
I would do the
God,
exact same thing.
Yep. But I will say, there's one thing that like I feel is kind of like brag worthy, because there was a number of festivals that I got into and we won some awards, like best drama, best actress, like things like that, and it was amazing. So this guy from Tribeca emailed me, and he basically said like, hey, like, full disclosure, your film wasn't selected, and like I was cool with that. That was like one of the big shots, and I was like, you got to mentally prepare to not get accepted to those. But he was like, there was a level of authenticity to this short that was so like noteworthy that I just wanted to reach out to you and say like, keep up the good work, and I'm really excited to see what you do next. And like someone from Tribeca said that to me, so I was like,
I love when people do that.
Like, I just
do more of
freaked
that.
out.
If you are someone out there
it was
with
everything.
like, I love when people take the like moment to do that. I try to do that even too. Like
Me too.
all of us should try and do that when we can. Like if you really feel moved by somebody, and even if you think it might not mean anything, it will, know? Because, like, that's just, like, lights a fire under your ass. I know it would for me.
That was incredible.
That's amazing.
I was like, and I was running around telling my coworkers about this, and they were like, you got into Tribeca? And I was like, no. No, I didn't. But look, I didn't even
like,
care.
full smile on your face.
Yeah, no, I was like, no, I did not get into Tribeca, but it does not matter. That was the best email I've ever gotten in my life.
And but hey, that means someone's keeping an eye on you.
Oh yeah,
probably.
No,
maybe
so
even more
cool.
people.
Appreciate you. But yeah, no, I'm like huge like advocate of like, go on Instagram and comment on their shit. Tell them you love them. Give them their flowers. Like people, I love people that have passion projects and know deep down that they're like meant for something outside their day job, and they're trying to pursue it. I'm like, do it, go for it. Yes. Write the damn book, write the damn script, make the damn show, do what you got to do. Like I want to help people as much as I can. Because
it sometimes just takes that one thing. It's just something my mom has always told me. She's like, when in doubt, just compliment people.
Yes.
Or like just make, because you also just don't know then, even from a perspective of if you are, you're the one who's just starting out, and like, and you want to compliment someone who's maybe some steps ahead. Like you never know what kind of connection that kind of earnest compliment could breed,
For sure.
So yeah, I love that. And so you did get accepted into a couple though.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so how does that work? Like, do they get like shown at the festivals, or?
It's like a variety. Something that I didn't realize was that a huge chunk of like the festivals that are on like Film Freeway, a lot of them are like online based, or it's like contest based, where like they have like a panel of people that are really similar to like screeners for like in-person festivals, but a lot of it is just like an online event, and then they'll like do their winnings on like a website or something. And we did get a handful of showings. I think Arizona International Film Festival, I think that was the one that we first opened at. And then Riverbend was also a place we screened at. I think there was a couple other ones, but a lot of them were like online based. And I will say, like, I do wish that there was more open dialogue about festivals that are a little bit like nefarious and like the pay to play kind of festivals.
Oh, interesting.
Those ones, like like, it's not like I fully support people submitting to festivals and getting their flowers in any shape or form that they can. Something that does kind of bug me though is if like a film festival, they don't just have like a normal submission process where like you have a short and you're going to submit it for a short narrative, and then they have all these like slew of awards that it could win when you submit. So like I have a narrative short film that I just submitted, but it could win Best Actress in a Narrative Short, or it could win Best Female Directed, or it could win Best Horror, like the little subcategories. But then there could be festivals where you're literally paying to get a Best Actress award, or you're paying to get the best women's short or the best this, and like every single category is another $40-$50, and then you realize that you just dropped like $500 on one festival when you probably shouldn't have had to. And that's like one aspect of things that does kind of bug me, because it like gets expensive for people, and I don't know how much benefit they get from it other than the festival just raking it in that many times over. But that's like my one little nitpicky thing, and it's kind of a hot take, so I apologize, but that is something that kind of bugs me.
It's good, and I feel like, you know, you're is this your first time kind of going through this extensive of a festival submission process, or you've done it before?
I would say like this is probably the most extensive for sure, but I think I've done like 2 or 3 other like festival runs, you could say, and like I've definitely learned that like there's definitely like tiers of like scope and size of certain festivals, and there's nothing against like small local festivals, nothing of the sort. Love those, support those. It's just the ones where they charge you for every single possible award category, and they should just award that to a short that earned it, not the ones that specifically paid to be put in the running for one subcategory of things. I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't even know that's how it worked sometimes. That's interesting.
A little nutty.
Yeah.
Not my fave, but
but that's still so exciting regardless. And so now you were telling me a little bit before we started that, you know, you want to have a premiere soon.
Yes.
And how is that going to feel? Because I mean, really, it hasn't been seen by like the general public yet.
No,
so how are you feeling about that date coming?
I think I'm probably gonna show up to the event, say hi to everybody, and when it starts to roll, I'm gonna go to another room.
Really?
I don't think
you can't handle it.
No, oh my god, because it's not like it's one of those that like ends on a happy note. It's kind of bleak, and I fully stand behind the film, and I'm really proud of it. But also like it's so like personal in like a myriad of ways, and it's not like I made like an autobiography film or anything. It's still very much fiction, but the talking points that I bring up are so personal to me that it's like, to see other people's reaction, I'm just gonna let them have their own thing. They're gonna make what they will of it, and I'm gonna be back here, and I'll come back for the Q&A.
Yeah. And one thing that I'm thinking about for many years in terms of like my own writing is like, when it's published, when it's out in the world, does a part of it like not become yours anymore?
Yeah, majorly.
Yeah. Do you feel that?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I feel like something that I had to get over like a number of times when I was writing certain projects, and I think it's just because of like a phase in my life where I'm still writing like the bulk of like the first few things that I want to get out, and of course some of them are going to be majorly personal because I'm talking about majorly personal issues or things that I want to say. So I guess like my intentions and what I'm trying to say with the film, I know that's always going to be mine, and no one could ever take that from me, no matter how they twist what they see. But if it also, for somebody, like informs them this whole new light of like the female perspective, or they feel like someone finally understood what they have been wanting to say their entire life, or anything like that's what I hope people get out of it. And like in many ways, I know it's not going to be mine, and people are going to totally make of it whatever they want. Some people could think that this film is like disgusting and like it victimizes females, and they can have that perspective all they want. But I know where that came from, and it was a place of vulnerability and what happens when you are in a potentially victimizing position. But again, the takes between festival screeners who provided notes, I will say that the male versus female perspectives are very, 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 very different.
Interesting.
Like the men that have watched it and gave it a review generally did not like it. And then the women who watched it were like, holy crap, I really like it.
Sometimes it's just not for you.
Oh, yeah, no.
If it's not for you, it's not for you.
And I got to get over that too. Because like I make things that I want people to like be entertained by it, and I want them to learn something new or like gain something from it. But also like I know that I'm not exactly out here to make things that's everyone's cup of tea. I'm trying to say something, and that comes with opposing views and opposing opinions. So
and that's how I know you're gonna go so far. Because I think for other people it takes years to get through that, and I'm sure you're gonna still struggle with it, you know. We all do, but I think just having that perspective of like people are gonna think what they think, and you don't let that stop you.
No,
and I
can't.
think that's incredible because other people do. They're like, oh, what if they don't like it? What if they hate it? I'm just not gonna do it. What? Like,
oh yeah,
no.
And like those words definitely come out of my mouth. Like, what if everybody hates it? What if this is total
what
trash,
if they do?
garbo? Like, and again, like, you know, shout out to Dane. He'll be like, again, what you literally were like put on this earth to do this stuff. This is all you want to do. Like, don't question yourself.
Yeah.
So
and you need that reminder from the good people around you.
Yeah, like
we all do.
Major difference between like editing and like editing yourself out of the script and like taking your perspective out because you think it's like too sharp of an opinion or too sharp of a statement, and it's like no, the whole point is to freaking say something, so say it.
Yeah, and I mean a lot of times I feel like people have said like if you're pissing people off, you're probably doing something right.
Oh, exactly.
I mean,
and that's all I want to do.
Right, you
piss some people off because I got some angry ass things to say and I don't.
Yes.
But I kind of care, but I don't care.
That's amazing. And you are I think we mentioned this. I just want to make sure it's mentioned. You are working on a feature length version
too. Well, yeah, no, So I have the feature version of Trashy that I'm working on, and then with my manager, I'm working on this like separate other. It's kind of like a horror film thriller drama thing, and it's like based on women that work in the sex industry, which obsessed. Love Amazing. That. Yeah.
Wow, I'm so excited. Mm-hmm. And how does it feel, I guess? Well, I guess this kind of ties in with my last question about, you know, when the project goes out and starts like being, you know, other people's reactions tie into it. Do you feel a sense of or did you feel a sense of like kind of grief or loss when you finally like, or I guess the chapter isn't completely closed on Trashy, but this kind of version of it is? Like, how did that feel after like putting in all that time and energy, and then it's like, okay, this is in the final thing? Did you feel a loss of any kind?
No. If anything, I feel like I'm going to feel a lot of relief.
Amazing.
Because like when I worked on Trashy, like from conception to editing it to the phase I'm at right now, which is just like putting the last few social media campaigns out and getting it out there into the world. Once that online premiere day is over, I am going to be like, and I can like move on and like wipe the slate clean, and it's like on to the next thing.
Because you have a lot of other things to do.
There's so much more stuff that I want to be doing. And it's like, it's not that I have like any disdain toward the project. I love that project so much, but also like I've been working on this like half-hour short for like 3 years, and I'm ready to move on to the next one. Especially like when I watch it now and there's so many things that I've grown from, like production-wise even, I would have been like, oh, I probably would have I wouldn't have made a shoot in the rain for that particular moment, but
well, you're just itching to like try new things.
Oh yeah, no, I got too much stuff I want to work on next.
I love that. You can't
the
dwell.
Rolodex is growing by the day.
100%. What else are you working on right now? I did overhear when I saw you last that you were working on a music video for someone. What are just some other projects even outside film and that you enjoy working on in general, or just like have in the works right now?
So there's, it's like a set of music videos that I'm like working on with this Detroit rapper. I'm going to keep it on the down low just because it's like kind of still in the works and everything.
100%.
But that relationship that I formed with her was like because I was a fan on Instagram and I was always giving her love and always playing her stuff. And then one day I just like kind of cold called her in a sense, and I messaged her on Instagram and I was like, hey, I work at this place, I have access to like studios and all this stuff. Like, I just want to use what resources I have and we can make something together. Like, I would make
Wow.
literally anything for you. And not even like 10 minutes later, she was like, amazing, let's do it. And it was like such a quick yes. And I was like, she could like leave this on red and like it's totally cool. Like, she's amazing and I'm not gonna push it, but like it worked out. And it was, now we have this like great working relationship that I'm obsessed with. So, and like music videos is something I've always wanted to do.
I just
haven't
see that for you.
had like the time, you know?
Yeah.
But especially, oh my gosh, with like Britney Spears and Lady Gaga music videos, those are life.
Yes.
Anything with like some hardcore, intense, technical choreography, like I've always wanted to direct something like that. And I will say like I am working towards writing and directing feature films. Like I'm always that's gonna be life for me. But I also really love shorts, like and tiny little projects where like I do have something really big to say, but I don't need 90 minutes. I don't need 10 minutes. I need 5. I need 6.
Yeah.
There was this one short film that I just kind of like wrote it spur of the moment over the course of a weekend, like a couple weeks ago. And it was based on this like really, really scary like health incident that I had like mid 2024. And it was, it's called ibuprofen. And like I'll like try to summarize it without going on a tangent because it's like kind of a tangent. But
no, go for it, please.
This girl is like on her way to her first date with like this 8th grade boy, and she's in 8th grade, and her mom is like telling her like, you can't back out of this just because you're not feeling well, like you're just nervous, like you're fine. And she like gives her like an ibuprofen for her head, and her back's kind of hurting, it's whatever. So she goes on this date, they're in the movie theater, and she's getting really, really sick and sicker and sicker, and she goes to the bathroom, and then this like pain in her back is like so clearly getting worse, and then you realize that she like started her time of the month, and that's where all the pain was coming from. But the pain gets so intense and so crazy that she starts to like see like stars, and then all of a sudden she's blacked out in the middle of a theater bathroom, and there's like a scene being caused and people are trying to help her, and then she's seizing, and like all this crazy stuff happens, and she ends up going to the hospital. And when she's in the hospital bed and everyone's like trying to figure out like what happened to you, what's wrong with you, and then the doctor figures out it was just her time of the month, so he hands her 2 ibuprofen and tells her she's fine and can go home. She wasn't fine. She probably shouldn't have gone home. But that's how doctors usually treat that stuff. So had that to say.
It's like I think it's just like your period is the craziest thing. And it's like and we just kind of move past it. Well, it's funny because it's like, and I'm very curious about that, seeing that already, like, or whatever that turns into. I'm hooked. I'm like already on the edge of my seat, like what happens. But I think there's just so much that can be said about being on your period, because there is a sense of like normalcy that we as women have to go through. Like, yeah, it's normal, but it's like also at the same time it's like dismissed of like, it's like, oh yeah, it's just your time of the month, you're fine.
Yeah, no, like
get up and go.
It happens to 50% of the population or whatever, and it's so like over everyone's head. But like,
and then there's different like levels of it that it can go from like, yeah, it can sometimes just be like in the background, whatever, but then other times, like you described, like this character going through, which is very, very real. It can be like the worst pain of your life. You feel like you're dying.
Like I scrolled through Instagram one day and heard that there was a study that showed the pain of like, whether it be pain from like PCOS, like burst cysts, or endometriosis or anything of the like, it's equivalent to the pain of a heart attack. And like, meanwhile, like I'm on a health journey right now, figuring out if I have endometriosis or not. All signs are pointing to yes. Yeah. But the pain is like inhuman levels. It's no joke. But because like, things like that show up with like, a 12, 13-year-old, it's like, she's just complaining, and she's just never had a cramp before, and she's got to deal with it. And
this was her in this story. This was her first ever time.
Like you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And also, if you're like surrounded by women or friends or family or coworkers who like kind of shove it down and just accept that that's part of life and just show up to work and grin and bear it. Meanwhile, you're like, you just fainted for like the third time.
Yeah.
It's like things should not be normalized like that, and it really infuriates me. So
I love that.
I got
And I
something
love
to say about it.
Oh yeah. And I love how the story is kind of framed by these like the taking of the ibuprofen, because I think that is often like
Oh yeah, no, it's just like take 2 pills like everybody else
the
does.
pain will go
and
away,
you're fine. And it's
and
like that didn't do shit.
it's crazy. I think you have such a way of like taking personal pain and like transmuting it into a story, and I think that is like incredible.
I appreciate that.
I think because I mean, often I know I think about like the pain I've gone through, both mental and physical. And I took a poetry workshop this past winter, and one of the prompts that she kind of helped with, like, or suggested to us, it's called the body paper, and it's I might send it to you because I don't know, it might help you like if you want to like use it as a writing exercise.
Yeah,
like it's
for sure.
really cool. Gives you kind of a list of general things, and the point is it's a free writing exercise, and you basically just like pick some kind of thing that happened to your body. It could be, and that's like so broad, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's like you could describe your first period.
Yeah.
You could describe when your body felt good, like your first orgasm, whatever.
Yeah.
And like you're supposed to just like write almost for like I think it's like 2 hours or almost like, and just whatever comes out. And I think
Hell yeah.
and I love doing that practice. I did it a couple times, and it was really, and I'm like, man, I've been ignoring a lot of physical sensations that I've gone through in my life, like pain and stuff, because I've just always like very much run away from it, and I've like learned how to like numb it. And now as I'm like, you know, trying to write more, trying to just really create these stories, and just getting back into like the creative writing process, I'm like, I need to tune back into these moments, as hard as they are, because I'm like, I got too good at separating myself, including the good feelings, even.
Yeah.
Including
seriously.
even like, I'm like, what did my like first moment doing this feel like? Or so I think I did. Anyway, that was a bit of a tangent, but I don't know. That just made me think of like, you know, pain and how like the barriers we create between that physical sensation. And same can go for like mental pain, but I don't know. That just made me think about that when you described that.
Yeah, no, I seriously feel like, and truly like to know one person or idea's specific, like the way I took it in when I was growing up, but I knew that the best course of action to like, you know, survive through life was to swallow down the pain, unless it literally was at a point where you cannot ignore it anymore. So there's just so many things like mental or physical where it's like you learn to eat it, and that's your responsibility, but that's not true.
No.
You shouldn't make it your responsibility. That's not a good way to live, but to unlearn that is crazy, and it takes forever.
Yeah, and oh my God, that again, I'm just so excited about that whole concept you just explained to me, especially with like, there's so many metaphors there about ibuprofen and numbing the pain, and how we numb our own pain, and how we like, I love
And
it.
is it like all a farce? Are we like trying to numb something that we were supposed to be paying attention to the whole time? Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like this girl is like having like an actual medical emergency, and everybody else is just like, oh, she's just got cramps. Meanwhile, something that I learned recently, in like 2024-ish. So women can go through, which like is equivalent to the pain of like endometriosis, or I don't know why I pronounced it that way, endometriosis, or like a PCOS cyst bursting. There's also something called an ovarian torsion, where your ovaries are like this, and they can just like twist up like a pretzel, and they can essentially kill themselves in the process. And I had one of those. And my doctor called me in like a little bit of a panic, and she was like, "Are you good? Like, are you feeling okay?" And I was like, "I feel fine. Why?" And she's like, "If you feel any pain, just go to the ER." Could you just
any pain?
Just any pain at all. If you get a little lightheaded, just go to any fever, go to the ER. And I'm like, okay. So I'm thinking back to all the times that I was like in crazy pain, and I was like on like there was an NBA All-Stars game that I was working as a PA on, and I had that crazy pain, and I'm like, how many times did I have this like ovarian torsion that like and then went away since I was 12?
Yeah.
I'm 28.
Yeah.
That's 16 years of that crap. Like, that's insane. And that was just like normalized to just deal.
It goes back to what we were saying at the beginning about how like, your body will set that limit eventually.
yeah.
Like it'll let you, ignore it to a certain extent, but then one day
It's
it won't. One day
you
it'll
can't ignore it anymore.
Yeah. Oh man, pain in general is just such an interesting theme to explore in writing, and
I love it.
yeah,
I love
pain.
Bring it on.
Like it's such an interesting. This is so random. But like I saw a TikTok recently about this man who did I guess what you could call it. It's like was a research study, but he did it on himself, where he stung himself with like 50 different types of bugs.
Really?
And rated and described the pain. You should look that up because some of the descriptions are so interesting. The way it's like almost poetic. I can't even think of any specifically, but I was like reading some and I was just like the way he described it was just like gave me so much inspiration.
Yeah.
As like, and it's just kind of good for like if you're like writing something because you're like how do I describe this kind of pain that I haven't necessarily gone through or something like that. So I was like, I can't believe this guy did that. Like that's so crazy.
That's got to be so, because like you got to get into like the really intricate stuff. Like this was a burning, this was a singeing, this was like an all over or a dull. Like you really get into the specifics of it.
Yeah, and I was like, that is so cool. So yeah, that makes me want to like look that up again because I'm like that's so interesting. There's so much you can say about that.
Oh yeah.
And one last thing I'll say about pain. So, for my day job, I write about medical things. So it's a lot of the times when I write about something that some kind of supplement or some kind of thing that's supposed to like save or help you, a lot of the times the main problem with these things that are told to like, oh, it's going to fix your this or that. Mm-hmm. A lot of times what the physicians say is like, oh, actually, you need that warning from your body. You can't always numb it because it's trying to tell you something, which is, I know, so obvious, exactly what we were just talking about. But like, yeah, because if you cover it up and cover it up and cover it up, then you're not going to, the real issue at hand is going to get buried.
Exactly.
Even if the thing, whatever it is working. You could say the same about painkillers, it's, what is it hiding from,
exactly. Like anyway. The Band-Aid only covers the bullet hole. Yeah. It doesn't fix it.
Exactly. Oh, that's so fascinating. I also wanted to ask, what are some of your biggest inspirations creatively?
Oh, so I would say when I was 6 years old, I saw this like teaser trailer on an old VHS of the making of The Nightmare Before Christmas, and it was before I had seen it. Claymation and stop motion, huge inspiration for me.
Really?
Oh my God, that's all I wanted to do when I was like younger.
Interesting.
And then I wanted to be a fashion designer for 2 seconds, and then I wanted to be Britney Spears. And then, eventually I saw The Virgin Suicides for the first time when I was 12. Over.
Something came online in your brain.
Yeah, like I feel like my brain totally rewired and the credits were rolling and I was like, if I can do what that movie just did for me, for somebody else, I can die happy.
Yeah.
That's literally all I will have to do the rest of my life. I want someone to watch a movie of mine and be like completely overwhelmed with like, holy crap, someone actually like understood exactly how I felt at that time. That's all I want.
That's how I felt when I read some of my favorite books like early on. I was like, if I can make someone feel like this through writing. Yeah. The urge to immediately like underline something and like save it and just like think about it like a quote.
Yeah, exactly. I just want like,
I love that.
I want someone to watch it and just know that I'm like reaching out and hugging them and being like, it's okay. I figured it out too. We're going to be fine.
I'm going to cry.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. Virgin Suicides. Oh.
It wrecked me. Also the movie Gummo.
Gummo, I've never heard of that.
Yeah. So it's way different ballpark of the Virgin Suicides, but not really. It was made by Harmony Korine in 1995. I don't know if you heard of the movie Kids. It came before that, and it was super controversial, like New York City kids and like down and dirty, like them doing drugs and having sex and all kinds of crazy stuff. And the whole premise was around the AIDS epidemic, so that was like the plot line that was carrying it along. And then his follow-up movie Gummo was about Xenia, Ohio, and this town that was completely wrecked by this devastating tornado or series of tornadoes that had like torn through the town. And they're still like to that day, which I think was at the time the 90s, they were just still struggling to like rebuild. And it was very clear that they were not able to, and it was fail. So that movie was a mix of home movies and really, really dark stories and the perspective of people that were in like devastating poverty, but there was something so homey about it and comforting in it to me. And it there was so many parts of it where I felt like that could have been like the home video of my own family or people that I knew. And it was just like people called it so disturbing and so crazy and so dark. And I was just like I know why they're saying this, but just I feel like I've known all these people before in my life, as fucked up as that is. Like there's definitely parts that I think were over the top and like campy of how screwed up they were, but I was able to see over that and see that like whatever his intent was, the thing I got out of it was this is such a true poetically sad way to show how people in rural Ohio and poverty aren't mixing and how that can turn them to life of drugs and killing animals for money and all these kinds of wild lifestyles that they ended up living. And it was because they were broke.
Yeah. Wow. And I'm so happy. Like, I mean, I'd be happy with whatever the settings of your films are, but like I love that you are just like talking about Ohio and like because it's just like this is real shit. Not saying like I don't know. I think so for a while, like I think, you know, when people thought of like a really cool coming of age movie, they think New York, you know, New York City, you know, big city living, you know, and I love that as much as the next person. But like you are tapping into something I think really, really special that so many people are going to relate. That's just going to unlock something. And I mean, I just think that's incredible.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. I feel like no matter where I end up, like I feel like I'm definitely sunny all year type of girl. Like I want to see some more sunshine definitely in the next couple of years. But I will say that like Ohio and specifically like Clyde is like that's where my soul is no matter what. Ohio is always going to be in my heart. I'm always going to have the images of the factory and the trains and the playgrounds at night and the streets with the orange street lights and it's all pretty and beautiful. That's everything to me. So
well, I think that might be a pretty good way to end it because we've been talking for like an hour, but we kind of got through everything. I guess just like anything, where can people find you? I want to get in a habit of just like giving people a chance to just like shout out where to find them. I mean, we'll obviously link everything in descriptions and all that, but just give us a little shout out where to find you and all that.
So my personal stuff, like I have me, Alyssa Standen, on Instagram, and I am working on a website, tripnoticvideo.com, and that's just like the LLC that I'm going to do all my productions under. And Trashy is on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Letterboxd, IMDb. We have our own website that's getting built right now. Probably not till the premiere that's going to be around because it's a little ugly at the moment, but it'll be pretty soon. And then I mean, I'm on Facebook too, but don't add me on there. I don't go on it, and I'm not on Snapchat. I don't like that either. But TikTok and Instagram, I'm on that.
That's good too. Everyone should also say where not to find them. Where not to reach out to them.
My Facebook.
Don't look up my Facebook. Here's where to find me, and here's where like just stay away.
Just keep out, y'all. Keep out.
Well, Alyssa, thank you so much. This was such a pleasure.
Thank you. This was a wonderful chat.
Absolutely.
I'm like so amped up now. Now I want to go write something.
I'm amped up too.
Right?
No, I really, really am. But yeah, I'm excited for everything you have coming up. And yeah, thank you to everyone who's listening.
Yeah, thank you. And shout out to Black Pod. Love you guys.
Woo.